Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live conversation. Let me ask you all a question. How many times we have been asked in work or in life that we need to fix something about ourselves? What happens if leadership didn't begin from here? And what happens if leadership begin by knowing ourselves and others more deeply? So, this is the essence of today's conversation, leveraging personality science in organizational development. It is an invitation to look beyond the surface level behavior and explore a deeper level that what shapes a person's behavior, their decision making, and how they show up. We are joined by someone who hasn't just observed this field but helped building it. A pioneer in the field of personality science, a longtime practitioner, and founding member of ICF Delhi-NCR Chapter, Mr. Rahul Baswani. Welcome home, Rahul. Uh,
Thank you,
Ra-
Karima. I like the word welcome home. It indeed feels like it because when we had launched the chapter, there's four of us and no accredited people around, nothing. And I was looking to have fellow coaches around me and find and build a community. And so, from a four-person chapter where I was the chairman, it's come a very long way. And I can't tell you how delighted I feel because I know that we coaches have grown in our expertise, our skill set, our outreach, and proud to see that how the chapter is bringing a lot of benefits to the world around. Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Rahul. And Rahul brings over 15 years of experience in bridging coaching with personality science. And he's South Asia partner for Lumina Learning. So we are happy to see you here and looking forward for an insightful session. This session will be hosted and moderated by Dr. Amitabh Kumar, Director, Partnerships and Marketing for ICF Delhi NCR Chapter. Hi,
Thank
Amitabh.
you. Hi, Garima. Hello, Rahul. Thank you so much for welcoming and thank you, Rahul, for joining us for this session. And hello, everyone watching from different platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn Live and YouTube both live, both places we are live. So thank you, everyone, for joining in today. I'm sure we'll have a very insightful session with Rahul. So, welcome once again, Rahul. Um, so, I was discussing with Rahul that what should be the format of today's session, and we came out in conclusion that we all coaches are fond of conversation, So let it be in conversational form, right, Rahul?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the best way. We coaches are good at finding our own learning.
Yeah. So thank you once again. So let us start knowing a little bit more about how to leverage personality science for organizational development through, personality assessment and all. So my first, curiosity about the personality assessment is, Rahul, that how did personality assessment evolved? And why has it become increasingly relevant in organizational context today?
All right. And Amitabh, as you had suggested and requested, we will keep it in the, anecdotal narrative way. Okay?
Okay,
Because
great.
I also found my way by bumbling around 15 years ago. I was also starting my learning. So I'm transporting back because there'll be many people here who've probably never seen any psychometric or not had experience, and there'll be advanced learners also.
Right.
So, look, human beings are a very aggressive, violent species. Okay? And everything about us has been war. War never changes, right? If we go back into history. And so everything has been built around this whole idea. And therefore, a lot of things that have come out in which have benefited the human species is also an outcome of the war, whether it's medicine, engineering, commerce, even internet, and assessment is no different. So in the late 1800s, turn of century, the Chinese were the first people who started to do what might be called as assessment centers equivalent, right? By doing things that would reveal personality and styles to identify people who would be better suited to roles in the army, different roles in the army. And post the defeat of the Axis powers in the World War One, the German High Command decided that the problem lay in the fact that they didn't have the right officers leading the troops. That was also the time Carl Jung was like working and bringing out the book on typology. So that whole conversations were quite rife. It was the Freud Jung time. So personality became part of it. And the first time that personality testing of some sort was used was to identify those who are likely to make the right fit. So that's where it's actually, and come to think of it, it was like more a recruitment exercise where psychometric remain very relevant in identifying the right people in the right roles. So that was very much the beginning of where it started. And of course, it's continued to evolve since.
Thank you for sharing the journey, how it started in China and how it is now evolved. How does personality data improve the quality of organization decision in that case?
Yeah. Oftentimes when I'm running a workshop, I invite people to have the courage to believe that they don't know themselves fully.
Okay.
So much of us, about us, that's undiscovered. Forget other people. Because there's so much of our decision making, even our shaped intuition, so to speak, is a function of our experiences and our own personality build. So normally without data, when we are operating from guesswork. Human beings need to identify people and slot them into a certain kind of a type so that you can react with them. Right? If you think that if you meet new people for the first time, you also try to imagine this person must be this kind of a person. You already have, you can't help it. This is a very primal thing in human beings, because otherwise, how do you survive? You have to make sure the person in front of you is a friend or an enemy. So it is as basic as that. And so we start to operate by our sense of meaning. So there was a story about these two architects who were struggling to find a good, team of creative draftspeople until they were tested, and it showed up that while they were successful businessmen with degrees in architecture, they weren't particularly creative. So they didn't have the filter to identify the right people. You put a salesperson in the responsibility of hiring an accountant, he'll reject most people because he'll find them boring. But science tells us we need a boring person. I mean, we don't need a boring person, but the boring is not a criteria. We're hiring an accountant for a different kind of a thing. Okay, you have a introverted, shy salesperson candidate, I can understand. So therefore, data helps us to make our choices objective. It helps us to see who the person is. We can screen out the people who may not be a fit more objectively. But we can also pull in people who perhaps have not shown their potential in the interview, but it's there. The data can identify that, okay, this person may not be very flashy, but they're highly dependable and persistent. So we can screen out and we can also screen in if we have objective personality data.
So it's mainly for the right fitment, finding the right fitment that if I may have to summarize in one word, maybe, right?
Yeah, I mean, primarily, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so my question is, how can psychometric data be interpreted at the team level, not just at the individual level? Is it possible, and how is it possible? If it is.
And I'll go back to one of my old stories about the days when they had this World Series between Australia and the rest of the world. And the
Cricket.
rest of the world team was full of every kind of talent, the Pakistani fast bowlers, Tendulkar, Lara batting in one team and all of that. So packed with talent. So was the Australian team. So I think they played 3 one-days and like one test match, and Australia won all matches. And they were I can't say that they were close games either. So what gives? So it's not packaging a whole lot of talent into one room and expecting it to be magic. It's how friction free are the behaviors of people with each other, how they can be aligned, how they understand each other's rhythm, right? So
True.
when we know what are the personality data on the people in a team, of course we need diversity. Otherwise, then how do we make sure that everything gets covered? But diversity has its own side effects. The people who complete you are the ones who also drive you mad, because they
True.
think opposite from you, they want opposite from you. They also measure you and assess you in things that you're not natural to. So, but you still need that diversity. After all, those who compete you will kill you. Okay, that makes sense. But the point is, we need them all there. So then, what makes a good team? If we understand what are some of the psychological diversities within the team, then the only way to overcome, because we can't change personality, but we can choose behaviors, is to use to create jointly with the team behavioral commitments so that personality, diversity, and its side effects are mitigating. A simple example could be you've got some very talented but creative people who always show up late for the meeting. So you create a commitment that when it comes to these 3 meetings in a month, there is absolutely no exception to be made. And if it means losing out, like a client call or whatever, so be it. Simple thing like that. Or it might be that it's an introverted team. So they make a commitment that twice in a month, this team of leaders will sit in the staff canteen for everyone to see that they're sitting together and eating. Simple things like these are the goals that I've set up with team because it gives confidence to the other people that the team is united, the leadership is together. Sometimes it's as simple as making a commitment that everybody will speak their mind and heart in the meeting before it's completed, and they will be assured there will be no counter judgment or reaction. It will all be taken as. Now, this was for a group of people who were generally not very sociable, but also a little bit people pleasing. They didn't like conflict. So, a lot of the things were then coming out outside the team meetings through the grapevine. So, if that makes sense, by creating a measurement of personality data, you can assess where is the team strong, where are the blind spots, what's getting missed out, and you can work with the team as a coach and a consultant to create measurable, visible behavioral items that can smoothen out the psychological edges and help the team to run forward without much friction. There'll always be friction, but you can reduce it greatly.
Thank you, Rahul, for explaining us how personality assessment evolved, how it helps at the individual level, how organization is using it, and how it is also helping at the team level. In the interest of, as most of us are coaches here, in the interest of coaches, my next question to you would be, how does personality data strengthen coaching conversation and outcomes?
Correct. And I think that's our passion, right? All of us are
Yeah,
here, love those
true,
conversations.
true,
And look,
true.
I distribute psychometrics, all right? But when I meet people who are wanting to get on a practitioner journey, I immediately ask them that have you done any coaching program first? Have you got certified any training programs if that's what you want to do? Because you can do those things without the psychometric. It's like a doctor in the villages who may not have the access to the blood testing or whatever can still use his skill, knowledge, experience to give a fairly good diagnostics on people. But if he had the blood works, he will be more accurate. Similarly, you can be a coach without psychometrics. I want people to know that because a lot of the coaches feel resistance to psychometrics also. Let me tell you, because old psychometrics used to box people. That this guy is an extrovert, so he's an extrovert only. And many of the coaches who are very humanistic don't like to see people labeled or boxed. And I understand that. That was also a limitation of many psychometrics. Some psychometrics are so harsh in their language. That's the way it used to be. Even before anesthesia, there was still surgery. So things have changed. So for coaching, we know as coaches that the problem a person brings to the conversation is not the real problem. It is the presented problem, but behind the problem, there's a real problem.
Mm, mm,
And it takes us a while to get to that real problem. Sometimes it takes a couple of sessions to get a well-refined goal. Many times, my coaching conversations, 6 session engagement has gone into 3 sessions before you can see that there is a meaningful goal now, finally.
mm,
With a psychometric, we can basically pick up where personality is playing a part, right? See,
true.
human beings don't talk the language of personality. They rationalize their choices, but those choices are getting created for them by personality. So, for example, if you meet an introvert and tell him to come and say, look, it'll be good for your business, let's go to a seminar conference, he won't say, I'm an introvert, so I won't go. He will say, what's the point of meeting all these new people? Conference and all doesn't give business, right?
True.
And an extroverted, sociable person, at the end of the day, I'm so tired, I want to relax, so let's go out and meet some fun people. Opposite to what an introvert will do. So you see, a lot of times when you're coaching people, they are giving you rational, their logical thinking, but behind that is personality. What is creating a person to lose his temper so easily? A psychometric can pick up, and if it's presented well, the person can also take acceptance of the problem. Now, what psychometric does, I don't need to judge and evaluate and guess your challenge. Psychometric is a test that you've done, data is presented by you. It's up to you to look at that psychometric, especially something, let's say, for like a Lumina, which is interpreted, that you identify which is your real pain point. It makes you autonomous. It brings more equality to the relationship of a coach and client, which is how coaching relationships work best. So if I have that, it's easy for me to build trust with you. And coaching is largely about trust and listening. Okay. So if the person is able to trust you, they will explore what their backstory is. Once the backstory comes out, then you get very quickly targeted to where you want to go. So I found when I started using psychometrics, I started to get tighter coaching contracts. We got into like exactly what needs to be addressed early. And so the three things that I would say came out for me was fast rapport building, creating very targeted areas of development, and finally very tight coaching contracts. So you can accomplish your outcomes very quickly. So for more and more coaches, I find the experience is similar.
So it helps building the fast rapport. At the same time, also it helps in getting to the contract even faster and quicker, and then it becomes easier for the coach to take the conversation forward. Thank you, Rahul, for highlighting this. Okay, so my next question for you would be how leadership development and succession planning, from programs to journey, how this personality assessment can help there, and what role it plays.
And so in a way, you notice that we've circled back to the original idea of finding the right fit.
Right.
We are looking for succession. We are looking for the right leaders in the right place, right?
True.
We know for a fact that many times people we call leader are not really leaders in pure term, but they're senior managers, more executives, filling out what we call leadership roles. So rather than get caught up by pure definitions of leadership, let's talk about senior executives in that role, right? And let's talk about the fact that not even the most talented people, right, can't be successful in every environment. Even in tennis, we know Rafael Nadal, who had more success on the clay courts. Remember, even the most monstrous of the sharks cannot survive in fresh water. So if you think about it, there will be leaders who are very successful in multinationals who may struggle in like a family business. There are people who are very good at steady state, even PSUs, but they want to commit suicide if they're thrown into a startup kind of environment. So to take an individual without the context has very little meaning. Organizations have their own principles, their founding principles, their value systems. In fact, even identified competencies, core competencies of what it means to be a leader in an organization, right? Because that is the screening process. That is the way they determine that if people are a fit with these 6 value systems of the company, then we are likely to have a more of a match, more cultural assimilation. With psychometrics, we are able to identify how well people fit into the core competencies or functional competencies or leadership competencies or whatever, because we can actually measure it. And frankly, most of organizations, no leader is complete. Everybody's got some area to work on. And if you're successful in today's job, you may not be successful and fully ready for the next role, right? We know that, right? We've got people who
True,
are very
true,
capable as individual contributors, and in his management, they completely tank.
true, true.
So, one, it can help us to shortlist the people who have got potential that is closer to the right fitment. And therefore, we not only have that data, we also have the data exactly where they need the help through coaching or development. So you can actually slot people and say, okay, so if I didn't have that data, for example, I would create a flat one size fits all training program and put all my leaders into the same program. But if I can understand, my different leaders need what, I can have a more customized development approach, because my company's future depends on the kind of leaders I put in the slot. So here the data starts to get very critical. But it starts with the organization having a good understanding of what their need is, rather than starting with the individual without a direction. And most organizations have that in place. They have a clear set of competencies. If you have a good psychometric, you can map, measure, you can identify who is the shortlist, and you can also identify very curated, personalized development interventions and plans for people.
So it basically helps organization align their leadership development and succession planning based on their, organizational competencies or organizational value system that they have, and the leaders, strengths and value system that we find out from the personality data.
And it sounds mathematical, but let's say if a company had 6 identified competencies which people must qualify on, different people approach it different. They said, look, you know what, as long as you're missing 1 or 2, we can work with you. Your potential for us, high potential, high potential. They're a mid-level, we have to see like where do you go. And then there are people who are like tanking a lot of them. Then you determine that, look, they performed well, they built a company, in the past roles they were okay, but what got them here won't get them there. And this is the time to kind of move on and make some strategic choices in the organization. So yeah, I mean, it takes the it takes the subjectivity out of this to the degree. You can even challenge people. Okay, what are you calling a high potential? On what basis? You can put some number to it.
More objective.
So yeah.
And these data, how does it translate into developmental interventions and long-term leadership journeys?
Yeah, that's a very relevant question, Amitabh, because increasingly organizations, especially at higher end, are looking for more leadership journey type of approach rather than those one-off things.
Yeah.
So yeah, very relevant. So now let's take a simple example. Okay, let's say there's a bunch of leaders. Picture them coming into a room. Okay, I'm just sort of creating a scenario. Let's say we have 24 leaders or senior managers we've identified. Now, once we have gone through a training program, which is also involved doing their personality assessment, we can quickly tabulate and see what is going on with this team, right? In the sense that first we can see, is there a trend amongst these leaders? We start to find, many times we found trends, like we find large number of people in a group are more people pleasing, more consensus, more conflict avoidant. I'm just using one example. Or there is some organization where people tend to be very task focused, micromanaging and all of that, and not very social and engaging. So it is not to say that any trait is good or bad. And particularly from the Lumina language, each human being is to be celebrated. Problem is not the personality. Problem it is the fitment. Right? So square peg, round hole, that kind of thing. Now, once I've identified what are the trends, what are potential gaps, now I don't have to create a development program which is based on what is trending, but rather what is required. Maybe there is a very aggressive group of managers who tend to find themselves getting into very easy conflicts and all of that. Maybe I require an EQ-based program. Maybe if there are people who are very, very people pleasing and all of that, then I maybe have to have a program for and develop them on the ability to handle conflict, to have strong conversations. Maybe there are people who actually are struggling with um, the need for collaboration, the need for accommodating others, and all of that. Maybe they need to be worked on stronger decision making and stand behind it, etc., etc. So the most important thing in the leadership journey is once you got the psychometric, we can create like a journey program which is tailored to the need of the majority group, which is like, so you can tweak it. So your programs then for your journey and your content curriculum and all is targeted. And then accordingly, you can support them. So I've seen organizations do a cool thing like they've identified. So supported them with the leadership journey and intervening coaching journey so that, individual needs are met. But it was the psychometric that gave them a quantitative measurement to as a starting point. And okay, of course, because I represent Lumina and I'm more familiar with it now. So something like a Lumina, you can continue to bring back to each workshop. So test is done only one time, but the report we use each time. And an example of that would be, let's say we are running a program called Emotionally Intelligent Leaders. This program is identified because when we did the original personality-based program, we identified this is a need of the group. Now, when I'm running this workshop, I'll get the report back, use it again, and help people identify which part of emotional intelligence do you need to focus on. It's possible you and I are both leaders in the same workshop. Maybe you need more self-awareness, and maybe I need to work on other awareness. Maybe I need to work on motivation, you need to work on empathy. But I already have that data now to say what is the more relevant part of even this curated content for me, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can create some powerful leadership journeys tailored to the group, curated according to requirement, and very, very targeted in the area that we need to develop.
Thank you. It's a great conversation, and thank you, everyone. I'm seeing lots of response and lots of comments in the live section from our audience. We are moving a little bit to the next segment of Q&A with Rahul, and I would like to pose the next question about how psychometric supports strategic talent mapping across roles. So we have seen till now how it is helping in coaching conversation, how it is helping the organization in identifying the right competency. Now, next question is about the strategic talent mapping across the roles. So could you please explain a little bit Rahul, on this?
Absolutely. Very critical. So how should I say this? Actually, let's talk about brass tacks reality on the ground. Okay? We are human beings. We have our own biases, preferences, and subjectivity. Okay? Many times, and speaking it like as bluntly as I can, a high potential is somebody who's the favored, preferred person. Right?
Right.
Sometimes, in many organizations, people have vested interest in maintaining status quo. Right? So they somehow, even if the organization bleeding a little bit because of that, they say, no, that if you want to save 10 lives and you have to sacrifice one, that will sacrifice the one. But if you have to sacrifice 1,000 to save yourself, save yourself. So a lot of people, have the tendency to enforce status quo. There is no objectivity. Right people are put in place. So many organizations are rife with toxic leadership, and toxic leaders create their collusions. Strategic talent mapping, first of all, requires a lot of work from the organization to understand what is needed at what level. And I think a simple term again is competency. Right? What is the competence level you required? And we talked about that famous Marshall Goldsmith's quote that what got you there won't get you there. And so therefore, what are some of the things that are also indicative of future successes? Past performance. But we have to like revisit that as well. Maybe the past performance, a simple example would be somebody is a very successful salesperson, but as a sales leader, if they use the same strategies they did for as a salesperson, may not work. They might
Yeah.
use competition as a motivation by creating competition inside the team only. They don't know
True.
better. Sometimes there are leaders who start competing with their own team members without realizing. Without realizing.
Yeah.
So I think what personality data does is brings objectivity, right? It asks the organization, are you clear what you need at this level, the next level? What is your definition of talent? Maybe there are companies where you just simple hard work is the talent, and maybe some places where thinking is the talent, and maybe somewhere collaboration is talent. So identify all this thing, and then you do the mapping work. So to understand what is your readiness for the future. We've got some big organizations with who work with Lumina. See, one of the things that happens with Lumina, where we were had the privilege to learn because we had the tool, is that the personality data called Lumina Spark Report, which is what us coaches and trainers mostly use. It's the
Okay.
cool report with the mobile app, digital coach, and all of that. But that data can also be translated into what we call competencies. Uh, and so the competencies then can help us to determine at what level what competencies are needed. And then, therefore, you immediately know how ready your people are for the next level. And then, obviously, you're not going to weed out people like that. But then we go into the whole business of identifying curated curriculum. How do you put PDP? How do you do group development and individual development? And all that comes out of it. But the strategic talent primarily and simplistically comes from knowing the right competencies and having a good measurement, not just psychometric, just any psychometric, but a psychometric which is tight measures. You can get a. It's like saying that if you want to get a person better, you need more accurate blood work test, and you also need a competent doctor. You know?
Thank you, Rahul, for explaining this in detail. Before I ask you next question, I would like to invite audience. If you have any questions, we can take one or two questions. So with Rahul, you can quickly write down or comment in the comment section of LinkedIn Live or YouTube, and we'll just pick up one or two out of that. Okay, so uh, okay, the next thing, Rahul, is okay. We have discussed about personality assessment and everything. As of now, you have explained things in very, very simplified and understandable, way. Thank you for explaining this in so simplified manner. Now, let me ask you, as in the interest of as you are also our sponsor, why Lumina? Why Lumina itself? And okay, so what how it is different and how it is it aligns with traditional psychometrics, or where it differs.
First, let me come in as a fellow human being. Okay,
Okay.
which
Okay.
is to say that we all get biased by things that give us our first experience. Kind
Okay.
of like the first love kind of thing. So
True,
and
true.
my early experience with psychometric, I remember one was 𝘱𝘱𝘵. A
Okay.
lot of people
Okay.
call it a very dated and a simplistic instrument.
Mm-hmm.
I've never sold 𝘱𝘱𝘵. I've never, actually even used it in training, but my own experience was very positive because I got first sight of insights. Then the
Mm-hmm.
other instrument that I enjoyed very much was when somebody had told me is MBTI, right?
Okay.
Because this person said something very profound to me. She said, "You're only an extrovert when people are looking. And would you be willing if I gave you a test?" How interesting. And that is so true. Nobody had explained that well because I know when I'm in a crowd, I'm very outgoing and friendly, but otherwise it takes a horse to drag me out of the house on my own. So there is both these dualities, right? And she picked it up. And so psychometric nerve naturally. Then I have an affinity for MBTI because it showed me a side of me. And I have affinity for
Mm-hmm.
Hogan because I started by distributing Hogan. We brought Hogan with my ex-partner here. Then we should distribute that. I certified 500 people in Hogan. So so Hogan has been my teacher. So all I'm saying to you that all psychometrics bring some value. I'm still a believer that more than the psychometric is the person delivering and the openness of the person receiving, which is more powerful. Okay. Now, with all that set up, why Lumina? think about it this way, and we coaches are absolute junkies on this stuff. Positive psychology. It's a phenomena which is about 30 odd years old, right? And positive psychology, not just because it's a trending item, human beings have changed. Amitabh, in the simplest of form, when we were kids, we got smacked at home, we went to school, everybody else was also like either scolded or smacked, and everybody was okay. Today, look at the trauma the kids go into. The social fabric has changed so much that our psychological needs have changed. So at a time like this, to have harsh instruments, complicated instruments, instruments that don't have positive psychology is not what's the right word for it, right? So that is a like a limitation, challenge. It can also sometimes be very dangerous. Coaching. We are all coaches. We love what we do. How many of us coaches sometimes say, I should be paying to do this work. It's so satisfying. Coaching at the highest level is a spiritual process because it forces you to suspend your assumptions and all of that to be able to enter and give access to your coaching client, access to your world. And right. So the coaching is all about that. But coaching also is about 35-year-old phenomena. It's not that old. So most of the key tools sell today were built before this. Right? And what I mean is, it's not because older tools are bad and newer tools are only relevant, more better. It's just that they're more relevant today. My father drove around in a staff car, ambassador, okay, and it did its job. But if I don't know if I want to put my kids in a star like an ambassador today, so I have options. I have something that is more current and more relevant to my need and all of that. So one is the tech part, it's evolved. So now let me come to Lumina. While Lumina built on coaching language, it's very autonomous. It's built by a humanist, a very inclusive oriented man called Dr. Stuart Desson, whose belief system is that we people should not become middlemen between the report and the report test taker. So even a high schooler can read a Lumina report. So a lot of coaches then get insecure. But if you can read your own report, then what is my job? So I said, your job is not to do interpretation of English. That person can do it. And the coach's job is never done. There are hundreds of self-help books that come out every year. Many of us have read more than 50 self-help books. How much have we changed? Reading is an intellectual process. Sometimes you can get more value out of a simple conversation instead of reading some very highly oriented self-help book. Got it? So the job of the report, by becoming accessible, it gives trust, confidence, comfort to the coaching client. And then they can pick and choose what they want to work on. That's where the coaches come in. So that's one. But the other thing which is like beautiful in Lumina is the fact is that Stuart Desson loved Carl Jung and his work. But he also doesn't believe in the type measurement. Type measure means you're either this or that. Their design is trait, that we all have these 5 major traits, and depending on at what degree we have them, our personality gets shaped. But what he's done, he's married the trait measurement and also mapped them to the Jungian framework. So clients and coaches who also learned the Jung framework are able to bring that knowledge, those exercises and activities here. And the clients also have the comfort of saying that they can use either the Jungian lens, either the 4-box lens, either the 16-box MBTI lens, and all of that. Third, today we are all ADD addicted, right? We have to run fast on things. Nobody has patience and all that. Lumina is a very fast 15-minute test, comes fully interpreted. And we live in a digital world. So Lumina has a mobile app. If you do your Lumina Spark app and I have my Spark, you and I can mirror each other's personality on our app. I can contrast your personality on mine on an app. So a lot of people joke and say, can you also be for dating? Why not? but it really is designed to see collaboration, how people can work together. So in summary, if I was to say what works is the coaching language, the positive psychology. Second thing that works for me is the autonomous and easy language, so people can self-determine what they want to do. Third is that by the mobile app and all of that, it puts personality in your pocket. You always have access to your personality, right? And finally, of course, it measures 2 interesting elements of. So now I'm going to psychological part. It measures 3 persona: who you are motivationally, who you are in behavior, and what happens to you under stress. It measures all 3.
Okay.
Right? And so that I was thinking of one more thing, but so primarily by creating that data point, it can allow us to go into what you might call even call depth psychology. I've seen some deep psychological workers use Lumina's three persona mapping to go into very, very deep conversations also. So, in summary, yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's today, it's Lumina. Who knows? Technology outmoves. 10 years from now, there might be something else which is even more advanced. But as of now, and for me personally, I don't know if I had a chance to tell you, Lumina gave me two gifts because its language is so easy and provides direction. My own love for art got redeveloped thanks to Lumina. And I've been able to align a lot of my personal relationships as a parent and as a spouse thanks to my self understanding with Lumina. I was able to do that. So, therefore, I have a soul connect with this product. Okay. So, hopefully, that.
Thank Thank you, Rahul, for explaining why Lumina. Okay, so for the better interest of our audience and me, so there are two questions which has come from audience. One is, where should psychometric not be used? That's one. And second one is, what to do if client does not agree with the report? So would you like to quickly answer these two questions of the audience? Yes.
I'm a strong believer that the human being receiving the report is bigger than the report. Okay. The report is like a map. So Amitabh can take a car, follow the map, only to discover that the bridge he was supposed to cross is broken. The human being is that territory. We should always respect that. So I'm a strong believer of that. The second part, well, if the client does not agree, first of all, I do want to honor the client's concern, right? So there's two parts to it. One is the client who's paying for it, sponsoring the project, and one is the client who's received the test. So my level of sensitivity will be more emotional, human, and acknowledging of the person whose report it is if they are struggling with it. And if it's a sponsor paying for it, then of course it's a more intellectual conversation, you know. But with Lumina, we find on an average the summarized report, when we literally ask people in a room, put your hand up if you agree with that, we get over 97% resonance rate. So what happens when the report is interpreted so it's not only it's accurate, because the language is easy, people are able to relate to it. Right? Once people can relate to the summary of the report, they relate to most everything else that follows. If people are willing to agree with the good thing, then it becomes easier to get them to agree to the gap areas also. So that's the part about what happens if people agree, don't agree. Second part that is also very relevant. What about when you should not use it? I feel that when people are going through an emotional upheaval, right, then people are having a lot of internal shift at that time. They're overextensions, which means their reaction, their coping strategies, their stress levels are high. I think we will get flawed data at that point in time. There are many times that people who are in stress, they ask me, "Yeah, you do this test. Why don't I do this test? It'll help me." I said, "No, right now you need conversations. The test, you come in a slightly more stable state." Another part is there's also reality. There's budget. I mean, the tests are not free. So I would say, even for other tests, I always ask people, what is your budget component? Maybe if the audience is junior, you're doing some outbound kind of work and all of that, the component relevance of the test is going to be so little. Use a cheaper tool. There are cheaper options. They may not be very accurate, but they do the job. So, I'm just trying to think where else not to use. I also think that when teams are very, very fragmented, maybe the starting point need not be a psychometric. As it is, people are going to be so hijacked and team is under stress and all of that. Maybe a more warmer, more connecting, bonding activities before we get into any more detail. So yeah, those are some of the areas. I also think that clients are looking for solutions. They're not looking for data. They're not looking for assessment. So at Lumina, what we tried to do, we created a lot of content and ready to do workshops, etc., which is what the clients are looking for, and we give it to the people who are a part of our community who are qualified with us. Because with data, what will you do? You need solutions, right? If you go to get your medicals done, your network, you got the data, but now you need a solution. So,
Right.
yeah, hopefully that answers.
Yeah, as time is also up, and we are about to close the session. With everybody's permission, if you'd like to answer, one question is also coming up on the screen from
Yes.
Anushri.
Yeah.
Quickly, you can answer this question. Could
Yeah,
you tell
sure.
me?
So talent mapping, and I don't know, I'm not, my consulting depth is not that big, but I will tell you one thing. When it goes about mapping talent and development area, and especially at senior leadership role, one, of course, is where the gaps. People have a tendency to try and fix every gap. And I tell them, no, be like, thoughtful about it. Which is the one gap that is paining you the most? Focus on that. Second part is there are blind spots. So some work is required for people to acknowledge their blind spot. Remember, there are people who you are become very aggressive under stress. But if you tell them they are being aggressive, they tell you, I'm not being aggressive. But if I don't do this, nothing will get done. Again, it's that rationalization that you need to get people past. Have that open mind to accept what people are seeing about you. Many times people can see things in you can't see. That's what a blind spot is. Food on your shirt, you can't see it, they can see it. So sometimes our behaviors become like that. People are experiencing you as aggressive. You're not willing to listen that you're being aggressive, right? So third thing, of course, is many times, especially at senior leadership, people get addicted to certain things that they've done well in the past. So it's overuse of strength that becomes a problem. So from a development point of view, even for team profiling, when we give people some solutions in terms of how to improve the team behavior, as much as we point about the gaps to cover, we also point out what are some of the overusage of strengths. Now, the question that you had, that is it only about ranking of strengths? So strength itself is the slightly subjective discussion, because what defines strengths at what level and for which organization. So which is where I said that the companies have to have a good definition and classification of what is needed at what level. That's where we come from. I see
Yeah.
another question. So hopefully Mehak from my team is going to put a message and details over here, Indu.
Yeah.
And so you start to learn a little bit about Lumina. We provide you some introductory information. And if you see a fit in your practice, then of course the easy way, of course, is get certified and become part of our growing tribe in South Asia.
And what are some of the upcoming learning opportunities offered by Lumina? Rahul, if you can just quickly summarize in a
So,
minute or so.
we qualify people, we certify people. In fact, just day before and yesterday, I was running a qualification workshop in Mumbai. We got more people adding the community over there. We have workshops coming up. I don't know if Sonam or Mehak have the date handy. Let's make sure that we get Mehak's and other information down there. But more important, I'd like everyone to know about this opportunity that's coming up, where even we are promoting it with ICF. Is Dr. Stuart Dessen is personally visiting India for the first time. First time
Okay.
since the brand has been launched over here. He will be in Delhi. We'll be running a program in Gurgaon on the 6th of March, where Stuart will personally be conducting a program, a very participative program. Where everybody will have their own Spark report, and he will give a live experience of, so the theme over there is going to be innovation. And it's such a critical thing for us coaches. All our clients are asking for, how do you develop innovative skills in people? How do we bring innovation to the organization? So I strongly urge people to sign up for that program. It's like very reasonably priced, and I think we have a special arrangement with the ICF anyway. So that information I think we can also put up unless it's already been put up. Let me just check. So yeah, that's another way to get to know Lumina. So qualification, but if you're kind of, and it's a big investment for us individual practitioners, money, time, long-term commitment. So one good way to kind of figure out and have an informed decision is by coming to the Steward program. I mean, it's an opportunity. He's here in person.
Great. Great. Thank you, Rahul, for your time today and explaining personality assessment in detail. And also, I asked questions about from different segments of personality assessment. And thank you for patiently answering. And thank you all the audience who have been listening patiently and asking. You've also asked a couple of questions which Rahul have answered. For more questions, you can also still comment on the LinkedIn page and drop probably someone from Rahul's team or Rahul himself can answer your queries. And you can also link, Sonam or Rahul, you can also put some kind of link or something where
Absolutely.
people can find the details about your programs. And
So we'll
thank you
put the
so much.
link for the program if we can. Mehak has already given her information, and Radhakant Jaiswal, if I understood his question correct, you don't need to use a psychometric, especially something like as robust as Lumina, more than once in 3 years. Once in 3 years is enough because personality is fairly stable that way. So hopefully I missed that question earlier. So thank you for letting me answer that here.
Yeah. Thank you. So we can end the session. Garima, you'd like to add something?
Yeah. So I would like to thank Rahul for sharing his experience and insights with such a clarity and depth. We would like to thank you, Dr. Amitabh Kumar, for holding this session so thoughtfully. And to everyone who has joined us today live, thank you so much for your presence and curiosity. So have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amitabh. Thank you, Garima. Thank you,
Thank you.
participants. Thank you.